Um, you're gonna have to add my YouTube, or you're gonna have to look me up on YouTube.
Okay, it is.
It's DB Cooper, like the guy who jumped out of the back of the 727
Yep.
with the, yeah, that's me. And it's got a picture of JJ the jet plane with a blue eye,
Okay, I'm going. Hold on.
if you could find it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not one. DB Cooper,
Should come up.
and then go to. Uh,
And it should be published live, and the video is A320 Familiarization.
Five.
I'm live now.
I got you right here.
Cool. I don't know if it's gonna like echo because I have Zoom mic on, so I'm probably gonna turn the Zoom mic on. Um, off rather, not on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's probably already echoing.
Wow, yeah, this is pretty good, huh?
Oh yeah, if I can. Is my voice echoing actually?
Yeah, a little bit, but honestly, if I just mute the YouTube video,
Oh, there you go. That'll work, right?
yeah.
Okay. Because I'm for some reason can't alt tab out of my computer. I'm not sure why. I always get these issues when I'm actually need to do something. So anyway, we're at runway. I believe this is 34 right. I just have it just
Mhm.
started on 34 right at Denver because you're in Denver. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter anyway. Um, so the Airbus logic for the so basically you have these different components. You've got the FCU, which is up here.
Mhm.
They call this the flight control unit. Okay. So basically, this piece of equipment tells you to the airplane what to do, right?
Right.
You have two autopilots, autopilot one, autopilot two, depending on who the pilot flying is. Um, the logic with the buttons here is so there's two different modes. There's manage mode. So for example, if I push this heading button in, I'm giving the airplane the authority to fly. Basically, I'm telling the airplane fly in managed mode, pushing the button in. That means that whatever you have programmed in this box right here, which on the
Yeah.
Airbus they call the flight management guidance computer. So the actual device is called an MCDU, but this is basically a flight management computer. Whatever I have programmed in here is going to fly if I push. You see how I'm pushing the button in?
Yeah.
So once we get airborne with it, I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. Now, if I pull the button out, we call that set mode. That means whatever I put here. So for example, if I put a heading in here, let's say I put, I don't know, 030, and I pull the button out, that's what we call set mode. Now the airplane is going to fly heading 030, right? If I push the button in, I'm giving the airplane the authority to fly whatever is in the FMC, or in this case, the flight management guidance computer. Okay, so that's
Got
the
it.
basic logic of the FCU, flight control unit. All right, the same thing with vertical speed. I could fly a vertical speed. I have to pull the button out, and if you notice, look, it says vertical speed plus 1500 here on
Yeah.
our. This is what we call the FMA. So this is what the airplane is doing, right? If you don't know what the airplane is doing, if you're confused, look down at the FMA. The first officer and the captain both have it. And you notice, look, I'm in heading mode, right? Because I've got it to set mode, not managed. If I had
Right.
something in the box, which I don't, but when I do put something in there, you'll see it'll say nav. If I push that heading button in, you should see nav, which is
It's basically
basically LNAV.
yeah, it's basically the same as the G1000.
Yes, except Airbus doesn't call it LNAV VNAV, they just call it nav.
Got
Okay,
it.
if you go on a 737 or a Boeing, it'll say LNAV, or it'll say VNAV path if you're descending via a SID.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, a star, not a SID. Um, like I said, I'm just trying to keep this simple. I'm not an instructor. I don't want to confuse you or make you build bad habits. Just kind of want you to give you an idea of what's going on here. Um,
Yeah.
Speed is the same way. So there's three different ways we can climb or descend in an Airbus. We have managed. Let's talk about climb. We have managed climb, open climb, and vertical speed. Right? So obviously you know what vertical speed does. You pull the button out. If we pull the button out, we're now giving ourselves what we programmed in the vertical speed window. That's what the airplane's going to do. If you're
Yep.
pushing the button in, think of it as you're giving the airplane the authority to do whatever is in the MCDU down here, which there's two of them, captain and first officer, and it doesn't
Yep.
matter what you program. You could program either side. Um, Now, that's probably where I don't know is I think if you're the pilot flying, you're programming. I think one side programs the route and the other side doesn't. I'm not sure about that, but they both do the same thing, and it doesn't really matter at this point. We're just talking about basics.
Yeah.
So, um, so you've got vertical speed climb. We talked about that. You've got open climb. So if I go over the speed window, and let's just say I put 250 knots in here, right? If I wanted it to climb at are you familiar with level change? Like on
Yeah.
the okay,
The FLC button.
yes. So flight level change in the Airbus is called open climb. Now, if I pull the button out, let me go to the side here. You can see all this, right? Okay,
Yeah.
if I pull the button out, see how I'm pulling it out?
Yep.
It's going to go to what's called open climb. Now, it's not, oh yes, you see how it displays a blue 250 here?
Yeah.
If you see blue, you're in open climb. The aircraft is going to, if you have the auto throttles engaged, it's going to manage the speed to maintain 250 knots
To whatever
to
altitude.
whatever altitude you have set up in the window here. Now, what you have to do is you have to make sure you push this button in so that way it goes to managed and it's not in vertical speed mode. Because what it's going to do is if you have vertical speed enabled and you have 250, it's going to continue to maintain whatever vertical speed's in there at 250. But guess what? Once you start getting into the higher flight levels, the airplane is going to prioritize vertical speed. If you have 3,000 feet a minute set in here, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's going to maintain it until it gets to what's called VLS, lowest speed, which is yellow on the speed tape, which is not displayed here because we're not airborne. So it'll maintain that vertical. It's always going to prioritize vertical speed, which I think is one of our things that they talk about climbing. Why is it hazardous to climb, dangerous climbing vertical speed? Because if you forget, you can stall the airplane, right?
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, we're in open climb right now because we have in the FMA here 250 knots in blue. Now, if the FMC had speeds for let's say a SID, it would show a purple. It'll show purple up here. So whatever speed is next for it to maintain, that speed in the speed window would be purple, and that would be managed speed. Okay, so you have vertical speed, open climb, and managed climb. Descent's the same way. You have vertical speed, managed descent based on whatever is in the star. You can descend via the speeds that are published. Let's say, I mean, I'll pull up some SIDs here if you want with
Yeah,
Denver.
I was gonna say you could do the I
Yeah,
think
let's.
the Denver 2
So I'm gonna pull up my
departures.
Navigraph charts here. So I've got Jeppesen on this, and we
I
can
know
start
the
putting that stuff in.
Pikes 2 departure is popular.
All right, for some reason I'm not
Um,
signed in. Okay, well let me sign in here.
the Eons 8 departure is big.
Okay, yeah,
These are all the ones that I hear.
it's up to you. Like I could show you that stuff, but as I said, I'm trying to keep it simple because I'm not an instructor on this airplane, and I don't want you to build I don't want to be teaching you something wrong.
Yeah.
So, but I can kind of show you. Um, it's pretty easy. Like you'll get it very easily.
Yeah,
Um,
you could do the Eons 8 departure out of Denver. That
all
would be
right, let's see
minor
here.
departure.
Let's do new flight. Let's do KDEN. KDEN. Add to route. I don't know. Where do you want it to go? What's the nearest, like
Um, you,
Charlie or something? Bravo or Charlie
uh,
around?
We could
Denver.
do the Eons 8 to, God, I don't know.
It's fine. I could even go back to Denver. We could just do a round robin. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, you could
Um,
do Eons 8 to, there ain't shit out there.
yeah, you guys don't have
Just do KGLD, Goodland.
Goodland. Golf Lima Delta.
Yeah.
Okay. Add to route. Let's see. I don't care what my. I just want to pull Denver up. Let's see here. Let's go to departure. You said the Plains 2 or Pikes 3 departure. Which one was it?
It was the Eons 8
Oh,
departure.
Eons 8. Oh, where is it here?
It's probably much further down.
Oh, there it is. Eons 8. It's an RNAV. Okay, cool. So I'm going to pin that. Let's pull this up real quick just so we can look at it. So let's see if there's any speed restrictions and stuff. Well, there's altitude restrictions, right? We can see that. You can see my screen, right? You can see what I'm doing
Yep.
here.
Yep.
So I put you on, or I think I'm on, this is 3-4 right, I think, right? This
Yeah.
runway here? Okay, that's where I'm on. Um, oh wait, no I'm not, because I see 084 as a heading on my nav display, so I must be, at any rate, it doesn't matter. The departure allows you to take off
Any runway.
any runway. Oh, I must be on this runway here. What is that, runway 08? Is there a 08 at Denver?
Yeah, there's 6 runways and they all point in different directions.
I must be on 8 because that's what my nav display is saying here, so cool. All right, anyway, so going back to that managed mode. Now, if I put this SID into the FM, or well, it's not an FMC because that's a Boeing thing, but same thing, the flight management guidance computer, FMGC
Mhm.
down here, you see all these altitude restrictions?
Yeah, it's gonna pop up
It's
in
going to
there.
populate it. And if I come over here to the FCU and I pull or I push this button in for the altitude, it is going to abide by those altitude restrictions. It's going to be in what's called managed mode, and it will cross those restrictions when it needs to cross them. Now, I'm not seeing any speed restrictions on this SID here. There might be. I didn't read it, so
The only one that I think you're gonna have is the below 10,000.
that's it. Yeah, there's no other speed restrictions. So anyway, let's put this in. So there's a mnemonic for programming the flight management guidance computer, and it's called uh, DI, so diff strip. So it's D, so D for data, I for init A, F for flight plan, S for secondary, then radnav, init B, and performance, diff strip, which you
Hmm.
don't have to remember, and I think different airlines do it differently. The first thing you would do though is you go to data, and you would go to what's called aircraft status here. What you
Okay.
want to make sure of, damn glare. The problem with the simulator is all this stuff is actually simulated. Let's go to this one because there's so much glare.
I have the nav chart in full screen right now.
Let me just go to the captain side because the FO side has got glare on the screen here. So you're going to go to data, you'll go to aircraft status, and what you want to make sure is that your nav data is current. You
Go to
also want to
nav.
make sure that you have, like this A320 has a CFM 56-5B4s. A320s will either have those IAE, V, whatever they call those engines. They're smaller shape. The CFMs are the higher bypass.
Hold on
Um,
for a second.
yeah, you're
Damn it.
fine.
I'm seeing the nav chart as a full screen, so I can't
Oh,
see
that's
the
weird.
yeah, I can't see the sim.
All right, how about now?
Hold on. There's gonna be a delay
There's going to
for
be a delay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, for
Now I
some
can see
reason
it.
I guess I maximize it. All right, so anyway, you're going to go to, let's repeat, let's go back. So you're going to go to data. There's a
Hmm.
data button here. You'll go to aircraft status, make sure that we have the right engines. It's just a simulator, it doesn't matter. But yes, this airplane has the CFM56s. What's important is that you have current nav data. So our nav data is good from 12 June of 25 to 9 July, so we're good. So that's the D. So then you have the I, that's in it. There's two parts of initialization. There's init A and init B. So right now we're working on the first page. So when you just click this init button, this is what's going to pop up. And you see how it says from to to. Um, Now, if we had ACARs, we can actually populate this flight plan. If there's already a flight plan on file, you just hit init request, and it will automatically populate the flight number and from to and the cost index and all that stuff. But for now, because we're not doing that, we're just going to put KDEN. And then what was the other airport?
KGLD.
Okay, that's Golf Lima Delta. You just put a slash in between them. Then it populates it. It doesn't matter for a flight number. I'm just going to put 3115. Doesn't really matter. Cost index. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that. And I'm saying I'm not an instructor, but basically it's a dispatch thing. Dispatch is going to, and it's for fuel savings. The higher the cost index, the faster we'll go. We'll get to our destination quicker, but we're going to burn more fuel. The lower the cost index, you'll save more fuel, but it's going to take longer to get to your destination. Typical cost indexes are going to be between 40 and 50. I'll just put 40 here. It doesn't matter. So cruise altitude, I don't know. What's the top altitude of the SID? Let's see here.
14,000.
Flight level 230.
Oh,
So top
230.
altitude. You're seeing that? That's what
Yep.
I'm seeing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to put that for the top altitude. So I'm going to
What's
put
funny is how close Goodland is. It's gonna reach 230 and then immediately descend.
Yeah, and I probably don't have to go to the top altitude since we're not under, ATC, but it's fine. So you're just going to put 230 where it says cruise flight level, and it's going to tell you the temperature based on the winds and temps aloft, and it's minus 31. I don't think it's going to allow me to do the wind crest for the winds and temps aloft. I'll see if it populates it. It might not. No. Oh, I probably have to go back and get the ATIS and stuff. Anyway, it's no big deal. Let's go ahead and clear that. So that's I for init. Then F is flight plan. So you'll click on flight plan, and it's very easy here with this thing. Very, very easy. So you have KDEN and KGLD, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go over here to KDEN, clicked on
Hold on,
flight
you're
plan.
back to full screen on the.
Oh, here we go. It keeps doing that. How's that? There's a delay, I know.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
All right, so there's the flight plan button right there. I click on flight plan. You'll click on KDEN, and then you could put the departure in. It says departure. You click on departure. We're on runway 8. So you're going to scroll down with these two arrows. The top arrow actually scrolls up, and then the bottom arrow scrolls down. There's runway 8, and we said it was the... Where
Should
is
be
it?
the Eons 8.
Eons 8. There it is, Eons 8. Now, it's going to ask for a transition, so I'm not quite sure what transition we're going to use. Let's see here. How about Eons? Whatever. Unless it says we can't use Eons. No. Sometimes it says you can only use it for certain arrivals. Not like it really matters. Yeah, we'll just use Eons. So we'll go over here to transition on the top right. Oh, by the way, these are called line left side keys, right side keys. So you'll see
Okay.
you'll see LSK1, LSK2, and then RSK1, RSK2, right? That's what these keys on the side, and there's 6 of them on each side. So it's not letting me put a transition in here. Interesting. Transition none. Are there no transitions to the SID? Huh. Okay. Well, whatever. Temporary insert. So then you click temporary insert. RS right side key 6 down here where it says temporary insert. And then look, it populates it. So there's an intercept heading at 083. Then we're going to go to Royal. Well, let's see here. Royal at or below 10,000. You see how it says you see how there's a minus here?
Yeah.
That means it's at, up to and including 10,000, but not above it. So
Correct.
if you notice, it shows you all the restrictions up to Lupton, Myrene, Wyndham, let's see, Myrene, Eons, and then Wyndham, Yeah, anyway, I guess that's the end of it. There's no transitions because there's just one way to go. So that's why there
Yeah.
is no transitions.
You're back to full screen again
Oh
here.
my God, this thing is horrible.
It's all
Okay.
right. I'll just tell you if it's like that. It's kind of intermittent. Sometimes it does it.
Well,
Sometimes it doesn't.
yeah, it's whenever I pull up the charts on through my simulator, it's weird. I don't know what it is. How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so cool. We verified the SID, right?
Yep.
And that's it. And you could put a star in. You could even put, I don't know, you could put the arrival in. You could put the approach in if you want. Um, yeah, I don't know if we'll just put an approach in. We'll just kind of keep it simple, and then we'll just put an approach in. So you'll actually click on the. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Where you'll click on the destination airport in green,
Yeah.
and then you'll click on arrival, and you could put an approach in. It looks like there's an ILS 30. I don't know what a common approach there is. What's the prevailing winds at that airport?
No idea.
It doesn't matter. We could put the ILS 30, and if you see up here, it'll actually show it in yellow because it's still temporary. It hasn't been executed yet. So what you're going to do is you go to approach via, and it looks like GLD, which is a VOR, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Goodland VR.
Goodland VOR is the only transition for that approach. And then you'll hit temporary insert. And if you look over here, it'll actually show you. Now, it says flight plan discontinuity. What does that mean? That means the airplane is not going to know what do you want to do after Wyndham. You have nothing. What we could do is we could click on uh, what do they call it? Goodland VOR and put that as our next waypoint after Wyndham. So that way it'll populate it, and that way there's not a discontinuity. Um, so where it says Goodland here, because the airplane, there's no arrival, there's nothing in between that last GPS waypoint and Goodland VOR, it's going to show that. So it's fine right now. You can always go direct to Goodland, like if ATC says cross Goodland at blah blah blah, cleared, you know. But either way, this is just for an example. So, but if we go down, we could see if we actually load the approach plate. Looks like there's like a hold in lieu of a procedure turn, I'm assuming. It says hold here. And it actually has the altitudes in magenta. And yeah, so, and the airplane will pretty much just fly this. I don't know. They probably want us to mostly use automation probably in the sim, but I mean, these things, when you hand fly them, it's, as I said, it's almost like it has an autopilot because it auto trims and everything. It's like a video game, man. These airplanes are like a video game. It's crazy.
That's pretty awesome.
It's actually fun to fly, even though, like, it's fun hand flying it. Um, so anyway, so there's the departure, and we didn't have an arrival in. It's fine. We could, if we wanted to put an arrival in, you'd go to flight plan, and then you'd go back, and you'd scroll all the way down on the flight plan page, and let's see here, where is it? Huh. Click on the destination. You click on the destination, KGLD, you'd go to arrival, and you
I
can
don't think there is
actually,
an arrival for it.
there is no arrivals. That's the thing. There's no
Yep.
there's no stars here. So that's probably why there's nothing loading up. That makes sense. Um, so flight plan, and then there's R for diff strip. So it's DIFRSIP for performance. So RadNav. So here's the thing with RadNav. This airplane doesn't have like an OBS. Like you don't actually turn an OBS to actually intercept like a VOR or a
Yeah.
course. What you do is you go to RadNav in the FMGC. You could put a VOR in, like, look, oh, by the way, it'll always auto-populate the nearest VOR. The airplane will always auto-populate. So here's Denver 117-9er. If you wanted to, I mean, if you wanted to fly to it, you would put a course that goes to that VOR. Well, I don't know. Let's just put heading. Let's put a course at 200. Actually, no. Where's the VOR? Is it co-located on the field?
Yeah, it's at Denver.
Okay. It's probably south of us. We're 080. So let's put 260. And it should give me a tune. So I'll go here and I'll put 260 in the box and I'll go to course. And if I wanted to fly the VOR, you would go up to the FCU here, and you go to mode change, and it's basically telling us that the 260 radial is, we have a from indication. Oh
Because
wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm
it
sorry.
is
The
altitude.
cross. I haven't used VORs in this a while. The cross means the front of the uh, CDI, and then that means we have the arrow pointing at the cross means a to indication. If the arrow is pointing away from the cross, it's a from indication, which makes sense
Because it is
because
to our southeast
it's
right
to our,
now.
yeah. It's so weird. It's confusing flying this airplane with VORs because you have to know that the cross is the head of the CDI, or the needle rather, not the CDI. But it's, I don't know how much VOR to VOR. I see there's something in our sim session that wants us tracking radials inbound and outbound, and that's
Yeah,
pretty easy.
navigation.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's pretty easy. What you do is you go direct, and you could put, what's the VOR identifier for Denver? It's a DEN?
DEN.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can put DEN here, and then it's going to ask you which one, right? I'm assuming it's the 117.9, 40 degrees north, 105 degrees west. I'll click that, and then you see how it says radial in? It
Yeah.
tells you how you can go direct to the VOR. It's the 263 radial. It already gives that to you. So if I hit insert, if you notice, it'll actually show me now Denver before the star or the SID, because I put Denver in there. So it'll always, whatever you put in the direct, it'll always populate it before it sequences the next, you know,
Look at
whatever.
that.
Yeah. So then if I go over
Hey,
here,
Mark.
if I go over here and I go back to nav, it'll actually look. There's the 260 radial.
Yeah, straight up.
Yep.
And there's the intercept direct. Yeah, look at that.
Yep. So if I go back, actually, let me go ahead and delete Denver. It's just kind of showing you how to go inbound on a radial. You're gonna hit clear, the clear button down here to delete something, and then click on the left side key wherever that, fix or waypoint or whatever it is, and there it is. And then you gotta hit temporary insert. So now if I go back to my, let's see, let's go to the first officer side, and I'm gonna zoom out. You see it says 10, 20, 40, 80. You can zoom out and see your actual route. The other thing that you can do is you can actually go through the box, and actually it'll go through the points to make sure that, you're not missing anything.
Right.
I'm not going to get into all that. But anyway, there you go. There's eons after Myrene all the way at the end, and it'll just fly it. Now, if I wanted to come over here, I could actually put a speed restriction in. So I could go to Royal over here, and I could put, I don't know, let's say there's a speed restriction at Royal, or let's say that ATC says maintain 230 knots until Royal or something, right? So I could put 230. Oh, hold on, I forgot to put the slash. Oops, what'd I do? Nope. Hold on, 230, and then the slash, and then I can go to Royal on the right side. Huh. Oh yeah, I did. There it is. So you see how it says 230 now?
Yeah.
So now the airplane will maintain 230 knots until Royal, and then, you know,
And
what
continue.
it'll continue, right? So you could put speed restrictions in with the altitude restrictions. So I mean, so I hope I'm not confusing you because I'm not
No,
I'm
this
not
is
good at teaching this. So
what's interesting is that it's just a, I guess, I mean, like a G1000 is just geared towards what works for general aviation. And then this is just a amped up version of a G1000 to a degree that it works with what these planes needed to work for. Does that make sense?
right, yeah,
So the way of actually executing it is different, but everything that we just did is exactly how you do a flight plan in a G1000, right?
right, yeah, and it's actually very similar. Like if there's an airway, it'll auto-populate all the fixes in the airway if you put the airway in. That's what I love about the G1000 because I came from ATP with the 430, and then when we started using the G1000, And it was later on in my training where they finally got more G1000s. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I don't have to put every single fucking fix in between here.
Exactly.
Just
Truth.
put the airway in there and it populates it. The G1000 is kind of nice. And believe it or not, the G1000 was introduced. Do you know when it was introduced? What year? It's
Mm,
21 years old. 2004, Garmin introduced the
damn.
G1000. That's how old it is. It's crazy. And the 430 was introduced in 1998. So it's stuff is old.
Yeah.
So at any rate, so here's a SID, and we put a speed restriction in there. And there's so much more stuff. Even I'm still learning it. Like there's a lot of stuff, but it's you just got to use it. That's the thing, and it gets easier. If you were getting a type rating on an A320, I would highly recommend getting yourself Microsoft Flight Simulator and buying the Phoenix A320 because
Can we just take a like a step back and just run through where all the actual equipment is in the
yeah,
plane? It's
sorry that
like a look.
that's kind of what I was doing, and I guess I got myself sidetracked.
Well, no,
So
we still didn't. But so like where the speed brake is, where
yeah,
the
absolutely. So you have the FCU up here, which we talked about. You've
yep,
got the center pedestal, which is down here. So here's the center pedestal. You've got the speed brake right here on the captain's side. If you pull it up, you arm it. So you arm it for takeoffs and landings. So
got
for
it.
takeoffs, if you have a rejected takeoff, it should be armed, so that way it'll actually extend.
Right.
Um, if you wanted to use it in flight, obviously you would pull it back, and it's giving me that ECAM notice because it said the speed brake was extended. So the airplane, say like flight control speed brake disagree. And why is it saying it's disagree? Because there's no hydraulic power to the speed brakes. So it's like you got the lever out, but I'm not seeing the movement. And as you can see, if it's in amber, you got five speed brakes on each wing. That means
Yeah.
there's no hydraulic power. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to get too complicated in this, but um, so speed brake on the left, flap handle on the right. Airbus is flaps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you just you push the button and you move the handle.
Got it.
So full is 4. Um, let's see, you got the engine start switches. So you have engine 1 and engine 2. In order to start the engines, you would go to ignition start to run the igniters, and all you do is literally just flip the switch. The airplane does everything else. On a
Yep.
737 or a CRJ, you still got to monitor the start here for hot and hung starts, but it pretty much automatically introduces fuel. So you're not introducing fuel. You can't introduce fuel early and cause a hot start like you can on a CRJ or a 737. Like with like a 737, if you're not at least 20% of N2 and you introduce fuel, you could potentially have a hot start because that high pressure compressor section is not spinning fast enough. But anyway, it's pretty simple. Weather radar down here, which I'm pretty sure we're not going to use in the simulator. But the engine start switches. The crank mode is if you're in flight and you have an engine failure, so it'll actually windmill start the engine. That's what crank is.
Yeah.
Um, these down here are if you have an engine fire. So your actual fire test. So here's the overhead panel. Overhead panel, you've got engine 1, APU, engine 2. If you could push the test button, and it'll actually give you the engine fire test, and it'll show you fire down here. It'll show you fire on the ECAM. So that's what you do to test it. I don't know if we're going to be doing much of that. Um, let me see. Oh, let's go back to the center uh, console here, or center pedestal. You've got COM 2 over here, COM 1 over here. COM 3 is at the top. Where's COM 3? Oh, there it is. Oops. COM 3 is up there. You've got your thrust levers. I've got my throttles already. And if you notice, there's detents on the thrust levers. It's different than Boeing's. You've got climb, where it says CL. It'll actually like detent in there.
Yeah.
You've got flex MCT. If you set a flex temperature in for like a derated lower power takeoff. And you got
Yeah.
toga. Toga's like maximum thrust, right?
Yep.
Your thrust reversers are these two things here. You just pull them up. Obviously, I can't physically pull them up because it's a simulator. I have them bound to my throttle quadrant, and the thrust reversers come out. And you pull that thing all the way back. If you go all the way to full reverse thrust, that's full reverse thrust, you know. Then you have the trim wheel. The trim wheel, as I said, this airplane requires zero trim. It will auto trim in flight. The only time you have to set trim is for takeoff. So whatever your takeoff CG is, you would set that trim wheel based on that. So you see there's 30, 30, 25, that's mean aerodynamic chord,
Yeah.
and the computer will calculate that and tell you what you need and how much you need it. This red button here is the auto throttle disconnect. So if you want to disconnect the auto throttle, I believe it's a double click. I don't know. I just pushed the button. You could also push the button here. See where it says auto throttle here,
Yeah.
and disconnect it. Because I don't have the button bound on my throttle quadrant, so that's why I don't use the button on the simulator. But anyway, let's see what else. You have panel lighting here for the center pedestal. You've got overhead lighting, which is this switch here. You can move it. You can see how kind of the lights kind of come on. So the main components the main areas of the airplane are the center pedestal, FCU, overhead panel. Those are
Got
like
it.
the main things. Um, trying to think if there's anything else. Uh,
Sick, man.
yeah, it's this add-on to the simulator. These guys have been working on this plane for like 5 years. It is like if you were gonna get a type rating on this airplane, this would be the add-on to add. I don't know if you're into flight simulation, but it's pretty cool, man. It's so immersive. It's as close to you're gonna get as flying the real airplane. Um, you
That's
have
awesome.
you've
I love it.
got your exterior lights, you've got your fuel pumps. So the Airbus philosophy. This is the Airbus philosophy. Extinguish lights. If there are any lights that are not extinguished on the overhead panel, you gotta you gotta figure out what's going on. So, for example, ground proximity warning system is at fault right now. I'm not sure why. Probably because we don't have. It probably has something to do with not having the engines on, the airplane's not moving, or something. The gens are faulted because, well, the engines are not moving and the drive generators are not spinning. So the fuel pumps, you just get them on, and that'll extinguish them. We're currently running on the APU. So like you see where it says APU master switch, APU available right here, APU bleed, provide bleed air, air conditioning, engine start. If you come down here, there's a bunch of buttons. Um, if I go to the engine page, so it'll show you um, oil quantity, 18 quarts on each side. If I go to the bleed air page, it'll show that the APU is providing bleed air now, and the cabin. There's two zones here. Both zones are 20 degrees Celsius right now. It'll show, let's see, what else here? Cabin altitude. Well, the cabin altitude is 5,200 feet because that's probably what field elevation is here, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the field elevation is at Denver, but that's probably about right. Um, if I go to the hydraulic page, there are three hydraulic systems on the A320. There's the green, blue, and yellow. The blue system has the RAT, the ram air turbine. So if the ram air turbine powers the blue system only, the PTU is basically like a pump that pumps hydraulic fluid from the yellow to the green. Um, Let me see, what was I going to get to here? Oh, the APU. If I click on the APU page, you can see how the APU is supplying power. It's currently 41% load on the APU, 115 volts, and shows the EGT on the APU, and it's also providing 35 psi bleed air. Let's go ahead and start engines. If you want to see that, we can. It's up to you.
Yeah. Go ahead and start one of them, and we'll
Yeah,
see how
sure.
it
So
goes.
we've got the APU on. We have bleed air on. We got to make sure that the bleed air supply is on. There's no need to turn off the AC packs, air conditioning packs. The airplane actually automatically cuts the packs, whereas on the Boeings, you actually have to turn the packs off, or else you don't have enough air pressure for engine start. So it's actually pretty cool on the Airbus. We're going to come over here. How much fuel do I have on board here? 6,400 pounds. Yeah, that's enough. It's fine. Whatever. I could add more, but let's see. Let's just run the quick checklist here. So cockpit preparation. Let's see. Altimeters are set. I'm assuming it's 29 or 901. I could pull up the ATIS, but that looks about right. 5,200 feet. Parking brake is set. Takeoff speeds and thrusts. So we haven't finished programming the FMGC. We did flight plan. We did rad nav. There's something called secondary flight plan. So let's say you have an alternate airport. You can actually go to secondary flight plan and you can actually load an alternate airport. And let's say you have to go missed, you're holding, you can actually activate your alternate, and that way, if there's another standard terminal arrival to that alternate, it's already in there. So that's what the secondary flight plan mode is. Now we were at init. Now we got to go to init B. Now you're going to put your zero fuel weight in. Do you know what zero fuel weight is and all that?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
now you're going to put your zero fuel weight in and the center of gravity. Block fuel is how much fuel we have before engine start. So we'll put that in. What is that?
You said
6,400.
6,400.
6,400. But let's go ahead and find out what our zero fuel weight is here. I didn't actually change any weights. So you got to go through the iPad on this. They have it through the iPad here. Go to mass and balance. I don't know. Let's go ahead and put 80 passengers and let's put 6,500 pounds of cargo. Let's go ahead and go 10,700 pounds of fuel. Apply and load aircraft. Instant, because I'm not waiting. And there you go. Zero fuel weight's 117,853. Our zero fuel weight CG is 29.4. So what you need to do here is 117,853. You round that up to 117.9. You always round up. So 117.9 and 25 or 29.4. So 117.9, and I put a slash 29.4. Put that in. Block fuel, we loaded. We got 10,700 now because I just instantly loaded it. Obviously, it's not realistic, but it's a simulator. Who cares? 10.7. Put that in there. And now you're going to go to the final, to diff strip, P for performance. You got to put your V speeds in, and it's also through the iPad here. We'll go over here. Runway 8. Oh, we got to put the airport code in. KDEN. Oh, not KDEM. KDEN. Put that in. Runway 8. Runway condition is dry. I'll sync the load sheet so it'll pull the information for the. So basically, your zero fuel weight plus your block fuel weight is our current takeoff weight, which obviously is going to be less. We're going to burn some fuel, but flap config optimal. Forced toga means that you're just going to take off with max thrust, so we're going to put no. Anti-ice is off. Pax will keep on, although the density altitude is probably pretty high, so we'd probably take
Yeah.
off with Pax off, but who cares? It's fine. So here's my takeoff weight, 128,100 pounds. Altimeter's 3003, so let me actually go ahead and set that. Oh, by the way, you set the altimeter over here. It'll say Q and H. If you're in Europe, you just click that small one and go to hectopascals. It'll still say Q and H even though it's in, standard altimeter setting.
Yeah, inches of mercury.
Right. So 3003, and they're all set. I have it in the settings to where if I set one side, the other two set, so I don't have to go and set the other ones. So 3003, go back to this, and then you hit calculate. It's going to give me my V speeds here. 132, 132, 133. V1 should never be above VR. They could be the same, but they can never. V1 cannot exceed VR, right?
Yep.
So V1, VR, V2. It'll give me my flap, so flaps 1, and then my trim setting up 1/10. So I'll put that. So 132, 132, 133. So put that in there. 132, 132, and 133. And now notice when I put these V speeds in, notice the primary flight display. It gives me It gives me a VR and V2.
Yep. Look at that.
So it'll give them to you right there. Okay. And then we're going to go flaps 1. And you could just put 1. You don't have to put the up point. It says here up, what is it? Point 0.1. That's for the trim. The flex temp I'm going to put. So I don't know if you're familiar with flex temperature, what that means, how it works. But basically, the higher the so it's an assumed temperature. Think of flex temperature like density altitude. It's going to be the temperature the engines think they're at,
Right.
ambient temperature, right? So we put 55 Celsius, it's going to derate that thrust to um, at a lower thrust setting to where the airplane is at 55 Celsius. So
And
it's
then
like
when we take off, we'll just take off with the throttle setting at the
to
flex design.
flex MCT, flex
Yeah.
MCT. Yep. If you were going to take off toga, then I didn't have to put it flex temperature. I would have just put toga, take off, go around. Um, so now we're going to come over here to the trim. Oh, and I don't know why. This is something I don't know. For some reason, you can't move the trim wheel until you've started the engine. So you can't set the stabilizer trim until you start the engines. It will not let me manipulate it. I do not know why. I don't know if that's a real thing on the airplane. It's weird. It must be a Phoenix thing from the developer. So who knows? Engine
That's
out
something you can
acceleration height. What
try.
was that?
I just said that's something you can try when we get out there.
Yeah,
Be like, oh
I'm
look, it's
sure.
real.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. Engine out acceleration altitude, thrust reduction altitude. So basically, that's the altitude you'll climb to uh, before reducing thrust to climb thrust. You don't do anything until you get to engine out acceleration altitude. Obviously, this is an MSL, and
Yep.
it's about 1,000 feet, or it should be 1,000 feet. Yep, because I
That's
have it
that's
set.
1100.
Yeah, it's about 1,000 feet. Typically, it's between 1,000 and 1,500. Now, I think every operator has their own altitude that's from their spec ops that they set. I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me on that. So anyway, there's my takeoff. So that's pretty much it. So now I'll go back to the checklist here. Takeoff speeds and thrusts. Windows are closed. Beacon, we'll go ahead and get on. Beacon's on. Since we're going to be flying FO side, I only fly FO side. I don't know why. I like it. It's fun. It makes sense. We're already on the runway, so we'll get the strobes on. We'll get the landing lights on, get the nose to take off. Seatbelts are already on, not like it really matters. And now we're going to go ahead and start engines, because we got the beacon on. We'll go over here, and all you have to do with the Airbus is, we'll start engine 2 first, simulating that there's, a jet bridge or something, and we don't want to start that engine side first.
Okay.
Engine 2, and actually, let's see here, fuel. The airplane also burns fuel. The APU, if you notice, burns fuel from the right wing. So
Yeah.
that's the other reason why you start engine 2 first typically, because if you notice, we've been burning fuel here, and the left inner tank is at 3820, right? And then the right inner tank's at 3840 because the APU's on. I'm not sure how much fuel the APU burns per hour. I forget. I think it's like 200 pounds an hour. I read it somewhere. I could be wrong. Not like it matters. All right. And then we're going to go to ignition start. Now come over here. We'll go to the engine page. If you notice, I've got N2 rising, right? Bleed air is now getting pushed into there. And it's all going to do this by itself. If we have like a hot start, then we could just close the ignition switch. So now if you notice, look, there's EGT,
Yep.
and there's oil pressure coming up on engine 2. Fuel flow's coming up. It's all automatic. It's just like the real airplane. Um,
That's pretty awesome.
it's so easy. Like my grandmother could do it. So now you're still going to make sure that you don't have a hot start. EGT's rising normally, so I don't foresee a hot start here. N1, when the engine says avail on the N1 percentage, then you could start the other engine. So once you see the avail light, which I believe is at 63% of N2, and there's avail. So I go ahead and start engine 1. And same thing. There's N2. No oil pressure yet. We do have some N1. There's fuel flow. So it automatically introduces the fuel. There's EGT, N1. Oil pressure's coming up still. And I said it's like taking candy from a baby.
Look at that. That's pretty impressive, man.
Dude, they put so much work into this airplane. Like, it is amazing. And so, you hear that clicking sound? That
No,
is.
because I muted it.
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right. So basically, you'll hear these thumping sounds, and that's the engine-driven generators taking over from the APU.
Got
Okay.
it.
So now, and if I wanted to make sure, I can go to the electric page and go, okay, well, the APU generator's online, Gen 1's online, Gen 2's online, providing the AC buses, and AC bus 1 provides the DC essential bus. I'm not going to get into the electrical schematic. Even I'm not 100% with it. But anyway, it's so those two gens are online. So if I wanted to kill the APU, I would just go to APU master switch, go off, and why do I have a pack fault? Oh, never mind. There it is. Um, APU bleed can come off. All right, now for some reason I can move the stabilizer trim. I don't know why. So anyway, the stabilizer trim was 0.01% up, and you can see where it says up here. That's about 1/10. That's close enough.
Yeah, look at that. Nice. That's pretty sweet. I'm excited. That
Oh, it's fun. It's gonna be. You're gonna love it. All right, so that's cool. And then we can go back to normal on the ignition switch. We can arm the speed brake, flaps one, and we can go back to the engine page here. And there's your flap indicator. So the front of this is the slats. So S is slats, F is flaps. So 1 plus F means you're getting slats along with the flaps. Let me see if I can go outside. So actually, that's not what I want to do. All right, well, my views are not set up, I guess. Come on, baby. Yeah,
when you went to that side view, I could kind of see it.
yeah, so you can kind of see. Oh, I forgot. For some reason, it gives me all these cones. I got to get them out of there. So yeah, you can see flaps are extended. Yeah, it's a pretty cool airplane. Let me go here because I got to remove the cones. Evidently, I didn't remove the chocks and the cones. They're still there. That was not smart of me. Ground services, chocks and cones. That's removed. All right, so yeah, we're pretty much ready to go. Um, Auto brake is max. That's for the rejected takeoff. So it gives you a takeoff configuration here as well. Signs are on. Spoilers are armed. You do a quick takeoff config test. Predictive wind shear. Sure, we'll get that on. And parking brake, we could remove it. We're not pushing back. Make sure that the rudder trim is zeroed out, which it is. And that's pretty much it. Now we're ready for takeoff. So now you're going to see here on the screen, you have SRS, altitude, and nav. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make sure that those are the right FMAs. I should have nav as blue, which means it's armed. Altitude, we'll just put 230 in here, top altitude. We'll put our top altitude of 230, but then we'll put it in manage mode, which is pushing it inwards. A speed manage mode as well, and we're ready to go. Let's see if I can do this. Let me get my yoke. Let's see here. All right, so basically we spool up to 50%. You get up to 50 here to make sure they're both together, or around 50. And then we're going to go to Flex MCT. Now you see where it says Man Flex 55. Engine thrust levers not set. Yeah, they are. Not sure why. Man Flex 55, SRS, and then auto throttle's blue. Not sure why it says thrust levers not set, but they are. All right, airspeed is alive. There's 100 knots. I'm all over the place here. And that 1 indicates V1. Your hands come off the thrust levers. There's V1. Rotate. We'll go ahead and rotate about 3 degrees a second. And for some reason, there it is. Follow the SRS, which is the flight director. Pause, rate of climb, gear up. And you notice how I have purple for speed. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set 230 here. And all I'm going to do is get autopilot 1 on. I'm going to engage nav mode, which it should. Let's see here. Cool. So there's nav, and it should follow. So initially it's heading because it was a heading that it's going to follow. And if you notice, it's going to say intercept here. It's going to intercept, and then it's going to go to nav mode. I'm going to go to climb thrust. So when it says lever climb, you go to thrust climb. I'm in open climb because I've got a speed, actually, because I've got 2300 set. Let's go to managed climb here. And if you notice, look what airspeed it's going to go to. The 230 we have set in the FMC.
Yep.
So if I go back to the flight plan, 160, I had 230 set in here. Where'd it go? Oh, disappeared. Not sure why. All right, well, evidently it's going to go to, for some reason it deleted my speed, and now it's just going to fly these managed speeds. Or, if I don't want to bust the 250 below 10,000, I can always, let's go ahead. When you're above S, the S speed, you can retract flaps. You know what green dot is? That's like your best glide. That green dot on the airspeed indicator is like best glide. So I'm going to go to 250, and I'm going to go to set speed, so it'll just level change, flight level change, 250. And I'm going to pull out. If you notice, the airplane is now going to pitch for 250 knots at climb thrust. Oh, I didn't get my transponder on. Whatever. Here. Oh, transponder's down here, by the way. You got standby, auto on, and you got the TCAS, TARA. There you go, that's gone. And we can disarm the spoilers. The flaps are already up. If you notice, the airplane is pitching for 250. And in the FMA, flight mode enunciator, it says speed, because that's the speed that I've selected. When you see a star with altitude, it's capturing that altitude. It's capturing the altitude, it's purple, right, 10,000, because that's what's in the restriction. It's going to level off at 10,000 until the next restriction, which is Shobo at 12,000, right? And now look what it's going to do. You see that little arrow, magenta arrow? That's telling you it is going to be at 12,000. What is that, 4 miles out?
Yeah.
About 4 miles out. That's what that's saying. And it's like I said, there's not a lot to it. And the airplane just climbs away. Sorry, like I said, I'm not trying. I don't want to teach you because I'm not an instructor. So, and I don't want you to build bad habits. This is kind of
cool. That was cool to see, regardless. I don't know how much of that is going to stick, but that was definitely fun to watch. For just in knowing that I'm going to go into a sim and I'm going to be able to jack with all of that in a couple days.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, man. Yeah. How's the frame rate? Is it pretty smooth on your end? Because I'm streaming this.
I've had no problems.
Okay. So now you notice it says Alt Star. It's capturing that altitude. When you see Alt Star or asterisk, whatever you want to call it, it's going to level off at the next restriction. The next one is looped in. Oh, and by the way, if you see a magenta, that means the airplane thinks it's going to make that restriction. So the airplane is saying, I'll make 17,449 feet at Loopton. If you see a magenta or an orange, for some reason it says Royal, it wasn't going to make 250. I'm not sure why. So if you see that orange, amber, it says it's not going to make it. But in this case, it should go to Shobo. Shobo's at 12,000, so that's why we're leveled off, right? Once it passes Shobo, it's going to climb in managed climb. Oh, actually, we can accelerate too because we're above 10. So we could go to 280. We'll put that in the window here and the FCU, 280. And we're going to do open climb because I like to do open climb. Now, if you wanted to vertical speed it, you can. You can override the FMC and vertical speed it, right? You can go over here. And I could put, well, or forget, install the airplane. And I could put 2,000 feet a minute. So watch how it turns, and watch how it says altitude constraint. Oh, you see how it says climb now? It's going to climb again, right? So now it's going to climb, but I could override it and put 2,500 feet a minute and push the button out, or pull it out, to do a vertical speed climb. So watch, 2,500, Now it says vertical speed 2,500. The airplane is still going to try to maintain 280 until there's no more excess thrust, right? So if you notice, the auto throttle is going to vary the thrust, and it'll try to maintain that 280 until it's like, okay, I'm balls to the wall. Now I'm just going to maintain 2,500 until we get too slow. Does that
Right.
make sense? It's always going to prioritize vertical speed, always. Which
Yep.
is why they don't want you climbing via vertical speed, because the airplane's always going to do that. So I'm going to go back to managed climb. Oh no, I got to hit the altitude one. So you push on the altitude window to go to managed climb. If you push on the vertical speed window or vertical speed button inwards, it'll level off. That's what it does. So
Got
if you
it.
push in on the vertical speed knob, it levels off. It doesn't go to managed. You have to push the altitude knob to go to managed. And now it says climb again. 280 knots. Climbing to Lupton. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. You see how the altitude is blue?
Yeah.
It's going to climb to what altitude?
23,000. Or
Is it
yeah.
going to level off at 15
No.
or 16? Nope. So what I got to do is I got to push the heading mode in. Oh no, wait a second. Oh, it's not giving me a managed climb anymore. Weird.
See,
Now I got to figure out now I got to figure out the automation. For some reason it says flight level 230 when it should be in managed. Well, let's see what it does. I push it in. Yeah, we'll see what it is. It should be managing the climb, so... Oh, you know what? I don't think there's any more restrictions here, is there? Let's see here.
there shouldn't be.
Oh, that's why. Lupton was the last restriction, at or above 14,000. That's why it won't go into managed climb. Okay. Do you see how there's no restrictions? That's
Yep.
the reason why.
The
Okay.
restriction is that we had to be above it.
Yeah, we learned together, see? Learn something new every day. So now it's going to go to 230, and it's going to level off, and that's it. So,
Heck yeah.
anyway,
That's awesome.
well, that was my first time teaching anybody this, so I don't know how I did, but...
I liked it. That was fun.
And it'll flash at you if you forget to set the altimeter to 2992 above 18,000. So it'll flash saying, oh, you're above 18, right? And you just pull it, it'll go to standard. So, but anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was
So,
pretty sweet. I liked that.
yeah, cool, man. Is there anything else you wanted to see? I mean, if you want to see an ILS approach, we can do that. It's pretty much the same. You can hand fly it. Oh,
I've done I've done enough ILS approaches.
what you got to make sure to do if you're doing an ILS is you got to
Yeah.
push the LS buttons on each side. So the first officer has one,
Yeah.
and now you see how it populates the lateral and vertical guidance?
Yeah.
LS, LS, and then it'll auto-tune the ILS, and but it will not ID the Morse. So you see how it says VOR1, VOR2, ILS? You actually have to pull it out to ID the Morse. It will auto-tune. It will tell you the ILS identifier, but obviously, technically, you're still supposed to ID the Morse, right? Like, that could be a check ride bust. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so you just push the button down here. That allows you to listen in on the ILS. You can change the volume. But
Boop,
yeah,
boop, 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 boop,
yeah,
boop,
all that fun stuff that we do in our six pack, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. That was
So,
awesome.
cool,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Well, so my next question for you. So I come in on Friday and I get in at like 7:30. Are
Why do you
you
get in
just
so early?
because that I like to do the early ass flights because they never get canceled or delayed.
Oh, well,
So,
that's true. Okay, I'm driving up there. That's good.
but so we have our first one on Sunday at 2,
Right.
and then we have our next one Tuesday at 9:30. So are you just gonna drive in, drive back, drive in, drive
So
back?
I'm staying at the Mandalay Bay,
Okay, gotcha.
which is about 2.5 miles. That's where my wife wanted to stay. So whatever. So it's like 2.5 miles away. I'm probably gonna drive. because it's kind of a walk and yeah. So I'll probably because I'm driving up there. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, if you want to meet before that and have lunch or something, I mean, yeah, like they said, I mean, like all this we did is not necessary. I don't know. I just want to see if I could even do it and teach somebody. So at least I know I can
Yeah.
kind of get away
Yeah,
with it.
that's fine.
And I just kind of wanted to kind of familiarize you with it. I don't know how much, of a benefit it's going to be, but it's better than nothing, I guess. But yeah, it's gonna be it should be fun. So I haven't done multi-crew stuff with checklists and stuff like that, so it'll be fun. Yeah, I think it'll be cool. I've
Okay,
already
cool.
downloaded the checklist, which I think they only give you the before takeoff, the after take, it's
Yeah,
like it's only
I
a
saw
few,
them too. It was
so
only a couple.
a couple of things, and there's a script for like, you know, you move the throttles to about 50, so you wait for the engine to stabilize, and then the pilot monitoring calls 100 knots. The pilot flying says checked. The pilot monitoring says V1. Then the pilot flying, obviously, you take your hand off the thrust lever because at V1 or higher, you're committed, right? And then, you know, the pilot flying says pause, ready to climb, or the pilot monitoring says pause, ready to climb. The pilot flying says gear up, right? And then the
Yep.
pilot monitoring gets gear up. So it should be pretty good. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that I like to be prepared, and
Yeah, it's
and
gonna
I
be a
think
good
it's gonna
time.
give us more time to have fun with it. Like instead of them having to show us every little single thing, it's
If
like,
you come in and you're well, so the job that I have now is because their whole thing is so mission oriented, I'm of that same